Folks, hey, it's Kurt. Maybe we'll get a little light on and see if the light works any better. All right, we're going to talk about a woolly mammoth in the room, not just an elephant. So strap in. I'll make the video short because the email's long and there's a link to a video that goes for an hour on the subject. But the short, skinny story here is we have centralized power production that is distributed. And those distributed networks, what they do is they produce power, and either they produce it at a really high voltage or they step it up to a really high voltage to transmit it across lines because the physics of it. I know Sparkies, you're going to correct me. This isn't all 100% technical correct, but the general idea is it's more efficient to transfer that electricity at really high voltages to closer to the location and then step it down to the voltage that it's usable at the end user level area. Now, the network steps it down and it's like this spider web that gets it out to all of these locations. And, when you go outside and you look up, depending on where you're at, there might be a transformer up on a kind of a pole, a power pole, a transformer, and it's transforming that power from whatever the distribution line there is down to probably like 240 or maybe 110. I don't know. I'm not an expert on it, but it steps it down. And that transformer might be supplying several homes or several loads. And then as you step it up, then at each juncture, there's more loads that are being supplied, right? So as you go higher up that chain, a failure will cause a wider power outage. Now, each of these distribution networks, like the one we have here essentially in Tucson, is then interconnected with other ones. So, if the power plant in one location goes down, it's possible to get power from other power plants through these distribution lines. And so now we get what's called the grid. And more or less, there's three grids kind of in the country. There's one basically for the West, one basically for the East, and then there's Texas because it's special. So I really don't want to get into an argument about all of the specific details. I know my NERC buddies are flaming right now, but in general, there's this grid, and the grid is vulnerable. And here's the most vulnerable part of it. When we step it from the really high voltage down to the lower voltage, those really, really big transformers are huge. They're not sitting on the shelves to replace them. If one goes down, it's going to cause a outage for a while because they can't just go get one off the shelf. Maybe they do. Maybe they've got a few spares, but there isn't spares enough for everything around. So if you lose several of them, you're going to have an extended period of time where the power's out before they can replace that particular transformer. And, oh, by the way, that transformer is so huge that they can't just go drag it to wherever it needs to be. Like, it's so huge that they got to move power lines out of the way so that they can get under it. They've got to have like special routes because they're so big. And so it's not just going to get there in a day, right? Well, okay, if one of those goes down, okay. But if a couple of them go down, maybe it'll take some other things down with it, right? So there's a huge case to be made about making sure you understand what's going on with the grid and how vulnerable it is. Now, there's some tin hat theories out there about, I don't know, EMP strikes with nuclear weapons up in the atmosphere, et cetera, et cetera. But the bottom line is we are vulnerable. And one way that we can help ourselves is with rooftop solar and be able to isolate ourselves from the grid for a short period of time while there's an outage and at least have a little bit of energy, electricity during the daytime hours. And if you are of the mind to maybe get a battery and then have power for the whole time. Guys, really seriously, go look at the email. There's a link in there to a video that's like an hour long, and I really think you should take a look at it. Thanks for watching all the way to here. Have a good one.